Thanks, Aldrin. Let's go straight to this now. On day 2 of the Moshoeshoe Walk sees hikers face their sternest test yet. So it's a 54-kilometer trek through the mountains and rivers under the scorching Lesotho heat. The route from outward bound to Malemong follows the path the king took from Mate to settle at Thaba-Bosiu, which is now one of Lesotho's popular tourist destinations. Our reporter Khotso Sello is there. And Khotso, I believe you've been up since the crack of dawn because it is a long day ahead. 54 kilometers that needs to be covered here today.
54 kilometers through the hills and the valleys. And luckily yesterday, the Lesotho government dealt with the Trump issue and all focus is back on the Moshoeshoe Walk. And as I step out of the shot, I'd like you to see some of the picturesque scenes that we are able to take in through this hike. I mean, just beautiful lakes, valleys, waterfalls, you name it. And I think the theme for today, more than anything, is just to remind us what Moshoeshoe really went through as he was taking his people to that safe haven of Thaba-Bosiu. And we have a historian with us, Ntate Mohapi, who will be, just breaking down the actual history of what actually happened during that time. As you can see here, this is the monument of Ntate Moshoeshoe's grandfather, who was eaten here by cannibals. And I've got Ntate Mohapi, who will give us, the full explanation of the history. Ntate Mohapi, just take us through it.
No, thank you, sir. Yes, when King Moshoeshoe I moved away from Butabute, he went to Menkhoaneng, where he was born. Actually, he was born at Menkhoaneng, and then from there he trekked to Butabute. And then from Butabute, he had some little fights with Patlokwa. Now, seeing that he didn't even want to fight them, but they were fighting him. Like, for instance, most people believe that he was running away from them, but he wasn't running away from them, but he didn't want to fight them. And then he left Butabute, back to Menkhoaneng, and then from Menkhoaneng, that is where now then he trekked to Thaba-Bosiu. Along the way, as they were coming, you'll recall that he had some older people with whom then he traveled with. Besides old people, there were women, children, livestock, and everything. That is why he took to get to Thaba-Bosiu. When they were here, his grandfather disappeared. And then they spent some time looking for him, and only to find that his grandfather Pete then had been caught by the cannibals. Then they killed him and then ate him. So the only thing that they found was the collarbones. So the collarbones in Sesotho, that is what brought Basotho then to name this place after him. Then they named this place after the collarbones of Pete, which they found after then he had been eaten by the cannibals. And then what happened thereafter? Oh, that was now testimony to say that, well, your father had been eaten by the cannibals. And then Moshoeshoe's men wanted to kill those cannibals. And then Moshoeshoe then said to them, no, I won't allow you to kill them because now these people have become the grave of my grandfather. So then what happened is that he took the cow dung and then he hit them on the stomachs with that cow dung. And he called them and traveled along then with them. And then he stopped his men then from killing them. Then they were not killed. Then they trekked together with the cannibals up to Madimong. At Madimong, that is where now most people then were eaten by the cannibals. But his father apparently then was eaten here. That is why then they found, or that is where they found the collarbones, then which came then, prompted them, to name this place Dipetu after those collarbones that were found here.
Were these Madimus also absorbed into the Basotho society?
Yes, they were absorbed now into Basotho society. And Moshoeshoe told them that as from today you must stop eating people. Then he gave them a few cows. Then he said, then if you want meat, now you've got cattle, you've got whatever, that then you can always slaughter and then eat. And he gave them even some cornmeal to eat. And they told them that as from today, please stop eating people. But then, well, he told those who had eaten his father, but many of them were at a place then called Madimong. That is where we are getting to then from here, to Madimong.
Ntate Mohapi, and also when we came here, we saw how difficult this route is. Just paint a picture of how it must have been during those times in the 1800s when they didn't have the advanced technology that we have today, and we are still struggling.
Sure, you'll remember that. I think that happened in 1824. Today, this is 2025. It's almost, we are heading to 201 years after that incident. Well, if my calculations then are correct. It was really difficult. It was really difficult. And you'll recall, I mean, looking at this mountain, which is called Ipetu, just have a look how difficult it is then to climb it. From where we slept, it took us 2 hours to be on top of it. And then you can imagine, because by then there were there were older people, there were women, there were children, and they were also then driving their herd of cows and whatever livestock that they had. It wasn't easy.
Ntate Mohapi, we're going to have to leave it there. Ditaba di dingata will probably complete it when we are down in Madimong. But thank you for that brief history lessons and letting us know how we got to where we are. Well, I think about 30 more kilometers to go, Andy, and the legs are tired. People are hydrating. We've eaten. We've been walking since 3 o'clock this morning, and hopefully we can make it to Madimong, not being eaten by cannibals.
Yeah, and Khotso, being the morning, of course, we want to get to more appetizing meals. Tell me about what the rest of the day is looking like in terms of how those hikers then are staying hydrated and refreshed, and at different stopping points in terms of your journey then, how that's been mapped out for the rest of the journey.
There are refreshment stations at approximately 8.5 kilometers per walk, but the hills and valleys are up and down. Cars can actually not travel through where we are walking right now. It's a very tough, course, and if you don't have the correct hiking shoes, if you haven't eaten correctly, if you do not have, the right, fitness levels to make it. Some of the people have actually tapped out. I can actually move out of shot, and Lesego can show you that there's people actually up on some of the bakkies in the back because they cannot actually make it further up. The cars are going all the way around. It's going to take them about 3 hours on a journey, which some of the hikers will make in much shorter time because the routes here are actually terrible in terms of rocks and how narrow they are. And if you are afraid of heights, it's probably not a place to come to because it's extremely high at high altitude. Some people do get a bit of nausea, but if you are there to kind of try and conquer your fears, perhaps you should try the Moshoeshoe Walk next year.
Well, that's Khotso, Sello, our reporter, of course, undergoing that Moshoeshoe Walk, 116 kilometers in total. They are doing 54 kilometers today, and of course, that wraps up tomorrow. So do stay hydrated, keep safe, and stay out of the sun as far as possible.